Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back with another Friday feature. And no, guys, I did not gain maximum sex appeal overnight. This is none other than Big J, today's guest for our Friday feature. And he is in the Yoshino for the Yoshino damage record. I was actually going to feature a game from Big J in the Yoshino where I was in the Montana, and I could not hit the broadside of the barn to get the kill on Big J at the end. We actually did get him, but he was just frustrating me so much by how well he plays this ship. But then he went off and got the damage record. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's feature. I will link Big J's channel down below, but make sure you guys like this video. It's a doozy. If you'll notice, actually, we were in a division last night with Dirty Mike DE, and he is in this game as well. So Big J has a wonderful time trying to burning down Big J Mike and Warpig here. But you'll notice Big J is going in, launching his long-range torpedoes. You can see the CC camo on Mike there. Mike, what a guy. That was a lot of fun last night, Mike. I hope you watched this. And I hope you guys watched last night's stream highlights. It was a lot of fun. But Big J is doing exactly what he should. And this game teaches us a few things. I will try and bring up those points and lessons along the way. But Big J is doing exactly what he should in this situation. The Yoshino, while it is a great cruiser, it has a decent amount of versatility. It has no business being anywhere near the cap. Now, you do have decent side plating on your armor, so you can angle if you need to get close to ships, but this is exactly how I would play this situation. I would be spamming HE, dropping my long-range torpedoes, and trying to influence the battle as much as I can. And this is the part of me, the competitive part of me, that doesn't like the Yoshino. It doesn't have radar. It doesn't have, all its utility is in its guns and its torpedoes. Now, it does have decent armor, like we mentioned, you can angle, and it does have a decent DPM, but that's the only thing you can do. Now, that being said, I think Big J is running an agile build, as you see him get a torp hit there with his long-range torpedoes. And agile builds can be very effective in drawing out enemy, for example, if your side is losing and you draw those enemies, you kite towards the back of the map, you can draw them out of position. But in certain situations, it's not the most effective play style for winning, in my opinion. Unfortunately, Coddington, who is another member and subscriber, was in a division with Big J, and he just got focused down. Unfortunately, Coddington's a good guy, so sad to see him go in this game. But Focus Fire, like we mentioned, Mike is a great player, as well as Warpig, and I think they were division with somebody else. Was it Giticus? Was it TJ? I'm not exactly sure, but that is another great example of how Focus Fire can highly influence a battle. But if you'll notice, in the meantime, while I've been blabbering on here, Big J already has 94,000 damage. I believe he did get a permanent flood on Warpig or Mike there, but we know with Will to Rebuild that some of those battleships can have unlimited health. But there is the 3-minute Witherer. That is actually impressive. So a combination, he only has 4 fires, by the way, 21 target hits, but with that 1 torpedo hit, which is the strength of this ship, in its long-range torpedoes. With just 1 torp hit at the right time, you can get a massive amount of damage. You will notice there is Warpig in... Oh, he's in the main. Did I say Alaska? He's definitely in the main. So I think Warpig did take a torp in the main there. But like we mentioned, if he's running Will to Rebuild, it looks like his health is ticking up. You can have basically unlimited health in a battleship there, which I understand where battleship players are coming from. There's a lot of spam in this game, and this is, a great example of that. But Big J is playing this how he should. Battleships, I love you guys. Battleship mains, I love you guys, but unfortunately, just infinite health is not something that should be in the game. But there's the Will to Rebuild, so Big J is going to try and focus that low target. He has another set of torpedoes out, which just slightly missed. And his team they're doing their job at sea, but they're all kind of bunched up there behind those islands. On this map, it's very, I guess it's hard to say there's a perfect strategy because I've won multiple different games in many ways, but you don't want to be hiding behind that big island there between B and C. What that does is it eliminates any potential for any sort of crossfire. So, spreading out and getting flanks and especially getting the caps and dominations is a huge win. But there's another one of those torpedo hits on Mike. I know Mike was probably just raging. No, Mike is actually a great guy. He very rarely rages. He's one of the few people who has just a true sense of enjoyment from this game, winning, losing, or potatoing, as he has his coveted Dirtado emoji. But again, we've noticed Big J's only been shot at once, but he is sitting in this position outside of A here, just dishing out an insane amount of damage. And sometimes, guys, when your team doesn't want to win, I'm not sure, I wasn't paying attention at the spawn actually, what ship spawned with them, but there should have been a ship, another ship that spawned with them, and that ship has left this flank. That left Coddington all by himself and Big J out here to farm damage. So we do know that Mike is on a damage con, most likely from taking that Torp and that Flood. So if I was Jay, I would have been targeting him. But he is just, with the slower-ish reload of the Yoshino, he is just trying to dish out as much damage as he can. But a pretty impressive damage total so far. I actually think he's still ticking either a Flood or a Fire, but he's still ticking that damage total up there. 2 Torp hits and 50 gun hits. Yeah, I think he has Mike on fire there. I'm trying to record this and do a bunch of trainings in the meantime, but basically he's playing the Yoshino to perfection, really. And like I mentioned about 3 or 4 minutes ago, there's nothing else you can do in a ship like Yoshino. He could YOLO rush in, but he would die probably. If Mike and Warpig are great players, and they would focus him down. But he's actually positioning himself beautifully behind this island here, trying to maintain their broadsides while Mike and Warpig try to push in and complete the pinch against the enemy team. Now his team has done a decent job on that other flank, securing C finally, but I don't know if it's worth it because they've lost 4 ships in trade. Another player did get Warpig actually. So there goes Mike's will to rebuild unless that destroyer stays near him. But that is just such a terrible play for a destroyer, is hanging out by a battleship just to give him will to rebuild. You remove spotting, you remove cap potential and domination, or even capture the base, and you remove, torpedo angles. For example, if this destroyer is next to Mike, he cannot be torping from any position other than where the battleship is at. So if you have a battleship and you're a destroyer setting up that crossfire, if a player turns, for example, if he is out on the flank, if that destroyer torps the flank, Mike can get the broadside when the player turns to dodge those torpedoes. If he doesn't turn to dodge the torpedoes, well, then he takes a face full of torps. And just for the record, anybody... if you're questioning whether to dodge, to turn broadside into a battleship or take torpedoes, I would always turn broadside into a ship. Torpedoes, think about this, torpedoes never overpen. A battleship half the time overpens, which is, the frustrating part of playing a battleship. In the meantime, though, Jay is still just dishing out DPM. Now, I'm going to be honest, this game is not the most exciting, but these are, like I mentioned, these are how these damage records go. And for the following, for the next, couple of weeks here, I'm not going to be putting up, like I said, we're going to be running out of damage records. But I'm not going to be putting up damage records, just decent replays, because I want you guys to get a sense of good play and things like that. And sometimes chasing these damage records, some players do, it doesn't create the best gameplay. Now, that is not what Big J was doing. Big J was doing all he can, while having a good time streaming. Big J is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. But there's the high caliber, actually. I'm not sure if that high caliber was because the damage total was that high, or if that was the 4th ship that he shot at or hit for damage. Sometimes you will be well over the damage mark, but the high caliber medal requires you to hit 4 ships. I think that was the case because 219 is an insanely high damage total. But he is dishing out damage, and he's not like at the back of the map. He is definitely near it, but he's within 15, 14 kilometers here of the enemy team who has great position. Now, he could have pushed in a little bit more. I think at this point in the game, but his team could have also done a little bit more overall, if you know what I mean. But he is up to a massive damage total, trying to defend the caps here. That Yamato is kind of preventing his push, so I don't blame him whatsoever. But he's playing it smart. Every time his torpedoes were reloaded, he launched them. There is no point. I see a lot of players play the Yoshino like a torp boat, and I was a little guilty of this myself, trying to get all my torpedoes off all the time. And while you should, as Big J was doing here, don't waste your time trying to be a torp boat from 20 kilometers with this ship. That being said, if you can get a few torp hits, the damage output is very nice, because these are basically Shimakaze torps at 20 kilometers on this boat. Unfortunately, though, Jay's team has given up a lot in terms of position. He is now spotted. And like I said, he could have rushed in here, but that Yamato sitting right there prevents a lot. That was actually great position by that Yamato to prevent a push either by Jay or that destroyer. So the destroyer was actually doing a decent job as well. And guys, sometimes you're just going to have losses. Your team, a few players on your team don't want to participate, and sometimes the enemy team just plays better than you. Better than your team. So sometimes we've had three of the best players in the game all get 2,000 base XP in a loss, and we've still lost. It's frustrating, especially because you feel like some other players can do a lot more, but that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Here is a little pretty dangerous shot. Yep, there it is. That is the one thing you do have to be careful of in the Yoshino. It has just enough armor to arm all of those shells, and sometimes not enough armor to overpen or bounce those shells. But Jay is already at 275,000 damage here. And again, this is... I'm questioning these moves because his team is actually tied on points right now, but because of that cap in the middle, the enemy team is going to be ticking at twice the rate, or +3 to their +6 to their +3 basically, which is why I enjoy domination over capture the base. Capture the base teaches the worst habits to people. They abandon flanks. They think people got a Kraken one time on the left side of the map and they'll spawn on the right side and they just go back over there because I got a Kraken there once. I don't understand the logic for leaving your flank, but there it is. There's the 300k mark, which I have only ticked once or twice, I think, in this game. And Big J actually destroys my damage total. Unfortunately, though, his team, while they are winning, they do lose that Alaska, which puts them behind again on points. If Big J had more time, I think he actually pulls out the win on this game. And that is going to bring me to my final point. Sometimes, even, no matter how well you do, you will still not win games. If I'm being critical, I think, like I said, Big J could have pushed in a touch sooner, but you saw what that Yamato did to him. So as soon as that Yamato died, though, Big J is immediately turning around. Unfortunately, that left a few of his teammates out to dry, and that Alaska and Yamato go down. There's all, hindsight is always 20/20, and that's why I don't like necessarily critiquing or even watching my own replays, because sometimes when I'm watching my own replays, I'll watch a play and I'll be like, oh, Aaron, that was a stupid play. And I actually had a great comment the other day from Mooney the Looney, or Looney the Mooney. He said, have you ever played a perfect game? And I don't know if I have. Captain Yoink might be able to say that he did. But the perfect game truly doesn't exist, which is kind of like we mentioned in yesterday's video, which is why we keep coming back. But regardless of that, this Mino pops up here. Now, Jay does have some time, and I kind of already spoiled the ending, but there is an enemy DD alive, and with an enemy destroyer alive ahead on points, you should never win that. Now, I've seen some throws firsthand as that Mino is tearing up their friendly DD. And this is actually a tricky shot. The 305s from the Yoshino can't overmatch the Mino. As you see, he gets penetrations. But that Mino is actually angling fairly well. The belt armor, the Citadel belt, while it can get punched very easily, is pretty tough to, if the enemy player knows how to angle it. And that is angling right about here, in between that 0 to 30 degrees of angle. But Big J has loaded the AP. He's guessing that this Mino is going to throw torps. He has his Hydro on smartly, and he actually has a pretty gangster dodge. There's just that gap just opened up like the Red Sea, and in the meantime, that Mino gave broadside to try and get the DD. He actually gets the 5 overpens, no Citadels. I'm kind of shocked, but I think the DD got the kill. Obviously, there's only 2 ships left. There is a minute left though. And like we mentioned, if Big J had maybe 60 more seconds, he could have gotten this victory. This Alaska, while the Alaska is a very strong ship, I think the Yoshino takes the edge. The Alaska does have better DPM, and if this Alaska would have switched to HE, I think he would have gotten it. But the HE from the Yoshino hits like an absolute truck. The AP does as well. For some reason, the Kitakaze shoots here, but I know Cold Merc, he's a pretty good player. I think that was who was in the division with Mike. I don't think he's going to get hit here, although if that was me shooting, I probably would have never shot. If one of these torps connected against that Alaska, you see the HE there. That was only 4 pens, and the Yoshino has 9 guns. So one more pen, and I think that could have killed him. So maybe not the smartest play to shoot there, but because they're ahead on points, he probably would have gotten the kill, and he would have if the time kept going. He was on fire as Jay ticks the Confederate there, but 343,000 damage. Only 2 torp hits, but those 2 torp hits caused flooding. One of those flooded for the maximum, and 22 fires. So an absolute GG's. You can see it. That's one of those games where you're actually shaking at the end. I know exactly what Big J is feeling because, like I said, if he would have had 60 more seconds, I think he wins that game. But an absolute GG's. And another lesson to learn, sometimes you can do the absolute most and your team still doesn't want to win. So this is Big J finding out he got the damage record and a great screenshot on the Discord. So GG's Big J. Make sure you guys check out his channel. Kind of a one where I'm blabbering the whole time, but I hope you guys enjoyed that damage record and the Friday feature. So everybody have a great weekend. I'll see you guys tonight. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow as well. So GG's guys. A run out. Peace.